everyone, this is Cinema.
And this is Johannes.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at Sankoré, the Pride of Mansa Musa, published by Osprey Games, designed by Fabio Lopiano and Mandela Fernandez-Grandon.
It plays from 1 to 4 players in 150 to 180 minutes.
Yes, this is a review copy of the game. The game is hitting retail pretty soon. We don't know the exact date, but it should be hopefully in January. Sankoré, Osprey Games, Fabio Lopiano, those are like, two of them are things we know from before. Sankoré, yes, we don't know too much of the story there, but we know a lot of Fabio Lopiano and Osprey Games. They, for example, had Merv. That was an tool. We have to say his name as well.
Yes.
Hey, I love this, by the way, that the side of the box says the names, like Tool is kind of like part of the team, and I love that. Merv, Fabio Lopiano, Tool. Really great game, one that we love, one of the best two-player dummy games ever.
It is really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
I think we did a review, I think.
Yes.
We might have did a playthrough, I don't know. I did a review at least, so you can go and check that out. We're not gonna compare them too much because like
they're different games.
Yes, like other than they're looking kind of similar and they're both like historical themes, they're not a lot alike.
Nope.
They have similarities because one of the designers are the same, but not other than that. This is a heavy game, so we're not going to go heavily into how the game works. Just going to give you a brief overview so that the rest of the review makes more sense. This is an action selection game. The game is going to go for X amount of rounds. Just going to go round and round the table until somebody triggers the end of the game. Then you're going to play the rest of the round, and the player with the most points is going to be the winner. And that's it. No, we're going to go a little bit more into detail. You're going to choose 2 different actions on your turn. Most of the actions you can choose are going to be kind of support actions. They're going to build up to you. Most of the time you're going to do one action that's called teach a class every time it's your turn, because that's kind of the main action, the main way you get to do stuff in the game. And when you do that action, you are going to do a few steps, not going to go into detail, but you are basically having a pyramid of these different class tiles, and you're going to move your little student dude up this pyramid and trying to trigger these different colored actions. The meeples, the students, also have the same colors. If you trigger with the same color, you're going to get like a bonus that's on the tile, but you get to do the action anyway. And then the power of the action is going to change throughout the game. You will get books, which also are these 4 colors, and these books will go into the library. You're going to get prestige, which is victory points at the end of the game. You just don't know how much in the beginning, because the books in the library is a real majority, and you're trying to get the most of the books of the color you want to score most at the end of the game. At the end of the game, you're going to look at the rows in the library, going to look at how many prestige you have. You get prestige in many different ways. For example, these little tokens that you need space for. You also get them from many different ways and many different places. And then you're going to count all the points, and then the player who has the most points is going to be the winner of the game. We're not going to go more deeply into it. You're going to see some pictures. We're going to talk about many of the concepts. So hopefully, all in all, when you watch it, make sense. But first, you looked at the game.
Yes. And it looks amazing.
Yes.
Tool is so talented, and he's done it again with amazing artwork, and the graphic design is so clear. It's just like top notch. It manages to be so beautiful, and at the same time be very functional. Yes. And it's my favorite color scheme, so it's bonus for that as well.
I really love it, the fact that I'm basically going to say the same thing as you, just because I agree with it so much, that these heavy games, there's so many symbols, so many things you have to understand, but it just made so clear. It makes it so easy to play the game, because the game is hard. To understand and play the game is so hard. So if you also had to be like, okay, what is that symbol again? How does this work together? It would make the game very much less playable. So the work that Ian does, and other artists as well, does to make our game experiences better is super important, and we are so thankful for it.
Absolutely.
Also, it has a workable insert.
Yes, it's really good.
Yes, it works. Like, that is like the top notch just there. Like, it works, and it makes sense what you put where. And you can close the box, you can put it on the side, you can put it in the shelf. And everything is in almost the same place as when you closed it.
There's really nice components in the game as well, really good quality, and the books in the game, I think that's my favorite component. They were so chunky and nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they are the same as in Alma Mater, or if it's like a little bit thicker. But they also have like a symbol on them, so they are like a kind of easier to see different colors. Especially like us, we did a playthrough alma mater on a black table with black books. Go and see that if you want to see magically disappearing components. The game also has a rulebook, which I am a big fan of because I am the one who reads them. The solo mode is from page 20. There is 24 pages, with the last one being the icon overview. And then there's going to be like around 20 pages of rules. There is a lot of examples. Like this is 1 page of rules. I think it's mostly well laid out. I think that for the most part everything makes sense. There was a couple of things we didn't understand, and of course then when you have the game early, it's harder to go to BGG. Luckily, Fabio was very helpful with the questions. Most of them were then like he referred to the rulebook and was like, oh, it's going to be there, and it was. There was like one instance when there was just one thing that wasn't anywhere explained other than the effect of a card.
Yes,
and
like
I would have never looked at that card to know what the effect did other than the card. But other than that, like most of it is very well written and well laid out so that it's easy to understand. I have to say, like, there's not that many pages of actual rules. The setup is from page 8 to 9. That means gameplay is going to be only 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pages of rules.
Yeah, because there aren't a lot of, like, there are rules, but
yes,
that is
luckily.
not what makes this game so heavy.
Nope.
But I think that the great
Spoiler alert, it's heavy.
The play rates are great because they remind you of all the actions you can do.
We played the game?
Yes, we have. We played it with 2, 3, and 4 players.
Yay!
And it has taken us 90 minutes to 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Which is shorter than the box has.
Yes.
Because the box has like 2.5 to 3 hours. I think, this is like, do not quote me on this, I think somewhere on BGG, one of the designers, I think it was Fabio, said that this was, the time on the box was kind of like worst case scenario, first time you played and stuff like that. Which is very different than most games are, which is kind of good if people are trying to go that way, but it's not good because people are going to think it's going to be like a 6-hour game than the first time we played. And I don't feel we played super fast the first time we played it, which was 3 players took about 2 hours and 2 hours and 10 minutes, and then 4 players only took like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yes,
because,
with 2 new players also.
Yeah, because you're doing... It's kind of like in Terraforming Mars. It's the one I always come to mind, where you're doing the same amount of things. So it's taking almost the same amount of time.
Yes.
I liked all player counts.
I agree.
I didn't feel like one was working less than the others. We're going to talk about like a little bit of difference, especially the 2-player feeling later in the review. Was there any, like, did you have a favorite player count?
I think my favorite is 3.
Yeah.
It's the
like
sweet spot for all
one.
of them, but I would be happy to own this game for all player counts.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it a lot with 4 as well. And the fact that it only took a little bit more time, and if you played it with the same group again, I think it would be even shorter and even more flow and even better. Let's talk about the game.
Yes.
The game has, as I said, you're doing 2 actions. And most of them are kind of like support actions. Let's talk a bit about them. You can build up your pyramid of these clauses, basically. You will be drafting from an open draft of display of these tiles and trying to get your students higher up because there's better classes and better bonuses, and you can also graduate them. Let's talk a bit about that.
Yes, the choosing of the classes basically is what actions you want to focus on in this game, which is really interesting because you kind of want to do a little bit of everything, but you also, if you do an action a lot of times, it's going to be better for you.
Yes.
So you have to balance that, and also getting the buying the classes. That's not the
no. You are establishing an advanced class.
You're paying with books,
yes.
And also then what kind of books you pay with and where you're placing them in the library is also very interesting.
Another really clever and kind of brain-melting thing about this pyramid is that whenever you are done with activating a student on a class, you have to move them to the next step. And if you suddenly have someone standing in that one space, you can place them. Some of them, like I think the one in the middle, you can go to 2 different places. But other than that, there's only one space. So you have to kind of, the planning and the order of the actions is so important. I actually had to send a message to Fabio and be like, does this person have to go this exact space? I was like, yeah, that's part of the hardness of the puzzle. And I really love that. But it makes the game harder because not many times, but sometimes, I remember the last time we played, you did an action, it's like, Oh, but he has nowhere to go now. So he dies. He didn't die, he just went out of your school.
Absolutely. And I think that recruiting the right colors is nice too. It's not like you get to do the action either way.
Oh, you mean by
the student?
The student
yes.
on the right type of class.
Yes, but what students are available is really interesting as well.
Yeah, I love the tracks of the students, like there's like queues in the 4 different areas, because there's 4 main actions in the game, and you have 4 areas with 4 queues of students. That's the only thing that changes depending on player count, how long that queue is. So in the beginning of the game, you can know which colors are going to be widely available and which aren't. And in the second time we played, I really did a boo-boo there, because like, oh, I'm going to get this and I'm going to upgrade my blue actions. And oh, I know I can get a blue student soon, because as I said, you don't have to. But my brain, I think you as well, really want to do like the maximize the actions. Sometimes you have to do it otherwise. But you then getting them, and then there's like, oh, and now I can get a blue, but you took it. Okay, so I can't get a blue, I have to wait a little bit more. Oh, there's a blue one. There is an action, luckily, if you upgrade like your favorite track, which is like bonus track, you can take a student wherever you want, so you're going to mitigate that like random setup, but that random setup is a big part of the game. We're going to talk more about that later.
And I love that the tracks, or like the queues, as you said, has more functions as well.
Yes.
So how many students are taken from those queues makes the action more powerful.
Better, yeah.
So if a lot of people are doing the same action, they're going to get to the good action, the good stuff.
You mean
earlier.
if they are taking the students from the same one? Because
that's true.
So you also want to take a student from a class you want to do, so that you get to do it better. They also trigger 2 majority scorings throughout the game. Each of the 4 different areas have 4 different areas, and when you trigger the scoring, it's a majority of who has the most pieces, because every time you do one of the actions, you're placing one of your player pieces there. You get to do the majority. In the first majority, you will get a book that is placed at the beginning of the game. Those are not random. And also, you will be getting the prestige token at the end of the game, or when that last one triggers. So it's like that there's so many reasons to do the different actions. And you're trying to focus, as you said, on a few of these actions. There is 4 main actions.
Yes.
Most of them, like all of them, are pretty straightforward. That's not where the weight of this game is coming from. Like one of them is count up how many like knowledge points you have, then place one of your tiles and take a book.
Yes.
The other one is place a tile, pay a gold, take 2 salt. The other one is place a tile, place a token to get like an upgrade tile for one of the other actions. And the last one is place a token, flip a tile, activate a tile, and get gold.
Yeah,
those are the 4
simple.
actions. And explain them. Like those are the 4 actions.
Yeah, but doing in them the right order and having resources at the right time to do them, because it has like kind of a resource wheel to do. As you said, in one action you spend one resource and get another, and then that resource is used in another action, and then you also need these books for a lot of things in this game. And there's a specific action that gives you books as well, and other stuff gives you books, but and you have limited space for your things as well. I had so much gold at one point, I had to throw them away, and then I really struggled with having a lot of salt.
Yeah, because basically there is one action you use gold to get salt, the other action you use salt to get books, and the third action you use books to get gold. So those are going around, and you have the fourth one and you get a skill upgrades to your actions, and in those you have to pay with both
various
like gold, salt, and books, depending on where you are placing. And you are trying kind of to not have to do all 3 actions, because it is a game where, as you said earlier, if you do the same action many times, that action is going to be better and give you better bonuses. So you're trying to then, maybe you take a skill tile that gives you a gold every time you do the astronomy action. Astronomy, that's the real one. And then you get to take a gold when you do that action, so that now you can actually have the gold you need to do that action, so you don't actually have to go into the tower and the mathematics and place the walls, so you get the gold. But there's just like so many things to think about, and the timing, and also what's going to give you prestige, because if you go heavy into mathematics, they cost books, and books are important. So then I'm going to score you more prestige at the end of the game, and it's just like so much and my brain is exploding.
And the game also feels really tense, and that is the other timing thing. With the cues with the student is that you see, now Johannes has majority in 3 of those 4 scorings. I really need to get in there to get the books that it gives you, or the prestige that you would get there. But that wasn't my plan. I wanted to do another action, and then you suddenly had to do the stuff.
The books are very cool.
Yes.
Like whenever you pay a book, you're going to place it into the library. And as I said earlier, that is a majority of these different you can play with. The basic side, which has 3 bookshelves, and then it's going to be in each shelf 2 points at the end of the game for each prestige, with one with the most books, and then 1 for the one with the second most books in all of the 3 ones. Or you can play with the other one, which is like 6 bookshelves, and 3 of them is 2 for the one with the most, and 1 with the one with the most. One with the one with the most. One with the most is kind of like a something else. But yeah, I really like that. And so basically, and I'm going to ask you this, because it's kind of a hidden stock game.
It is.
Because you don't know what you are scoring at the end. But then again, at least at the way we have played, because we're not pros at the game yet, is that you are mostly going to place quite a few books before you start scoring points. So you kind of have some feeling of where it's going, but you can also still manipulate and change it. So if I see you, like the blue books are doing good and you're starting to get some blue prestige, I can see that, okay, I will then leech on that and also try to get blue prestige, or I can try to go somewhere else, and then if I have like a strategy that gives me a lot of books, I can try to stop your scoring of that and change that into another color and then go for that color. So there's a lot of interaction in those books.
I think absolutely that you can change your strategy mid-game.
Yes.
Like just, okay, that is not going to give me any points. Let's do something else. But I feel like you have so limited action and so limited time. So you really have to. It's so hard.
Yeah, and
it's really hard.
Timing is everything, because you want to get your students as high you can in the pyramid before you graduate them, because then there's going to be worth more prestige. But then somebody else can do it before you, so you have to always time that. You have to time the cues. You have to time when you are scoring these other kind of scorings. There's a special scoring in the mathematics area where you will score for a color and get all of those prestige. There can be no more prestige in the supply, and then there's impossible to get more of that prestige.
The books that you need.
Somebody took the last blue book and you didn't have anything to do for a long time.
That was horrible.
And there's just like so much timing and so much going on. And this is why this game is very hard to play the first time you play it.
Yes, absolutely. It was definitely a steep learning curve for me.
Yes.
It was much better for my brain to play it second time. But I feel like this is a game that is really nice to have a couple of games under the belt to really enjoy it.
This is like, as I said, the rules are heavy. It's a heavy game. There's lots of rules, but that's not what makes this hard. It's to understand. Like, I didn't understand how to get points the first time we played. Like, does it work? And like after 2-3 plays, I'm starting to understand, and now it's easier to play the game and even more fun. Let's talk briefly about the player count.
Yes.
Because 2-player, it's gonna feel different. It's kind of like Terraforming Mars again. You get to do a lot more. So even though the cues are smaller, so it's still gonna give you that tension. But it's easier if somebody's not playing like super aggressive book strategy and trying to block colors the other player are playing. It's easier to see what colors are gonna be worth what earlier in the game, I felt like.
Yes, you have more control in a 2-player game because not many scoring can trigger between your turns. You have more control in that timing, and you also have, as you said, more control over what the prestige is worth at the end of the game. Yeah,
but I liked it a lot with 2 as well.
I did too.
I would not be sad to play it at 2, but I would rather play it than 3 and 4. One last thing, I really love that there's many strategies to go for, many different paths to take, and they felt viable, the ones that we have tried out. I really love at the beginning of the game because you are seeding the board with prestige tiles. Some are fixed, but some are also random, the books and the prestige. So you can see, okay, what books are actually easy to get in the beginning of the game, and what are going to be easier to get later in the game is like if there is like a high of one color, more one color, maybe that's the color I want to go for then, because that's going to be easier to score with that color. And that is changing a bit of how you play. Like the last time, I think you looked at the board like 2 minutes before choosing your kind of starting tile. because you're like analyzing and looking at things, how it works.
Yes.
Let's talk a bit about the weight and who is it for.
This is definitely a heavy game,
yes.
and I think that this would fit you if you have a group that you regularly can play this game with.
Yeah. Or if you just love heavy games.
Yeah,
like
of course.
Yes. This is a great heavy game. I think it's going to be for if you know the kind of game we like and you like those kind of games, and it's kind of easy to recommend it to you. Let's go into the final thoughts. Before that, just briefly going to tell you that if you enjoy what we do and you get anything from it, then you can help us out in a very easy and free way by giving us a victory point.
Yes, and we get victory points when you click that subscribe button down there. You can also click the bell to get notifications every time we post a new video.
Please like the video and comment on the video. And now we're done with that YouTube stuff, so let's get back to the real stuff, the final thoughts for the game.
I think this is a great game. I have so much fun, but at the same time, my brain is doing a lot of work.
Yes.
And it's melting. It's a game that I can't even now wrap my head around. I think that I'm getting to a point where I know how to get points.
Yes.
I don't know how much points. It's really hard to see.
You have gotten points. Like
but it's really hard to see who's winning until the end. I feel like that's a good thing though. But this is a really unique game in ways of how you're using your player board to do your actions that you want because your actions have to be unique. Want to cram in like one main action every time it's your turn, so you get like to maximize it, and the interaction between the players really changes the game from play to play. And I think this is a great game. It's hard. I think this is a game that I will still struggle to master, but I'm going to give this an 8.5.
Yeah, Sankoré is a fantastic game, and I hope that this will not be in the top 10 of the year, because that means there's been so many fantastic games this year. It's very early. It's like beginning of January, like 3rd of January when you're watching this, which means it's way too early to say anything, but this is a fantastic game. This is a great heavy game. This is like Fabio Lopiano. We don't love everything he does, but like he's one of the designers that we're always looking for. And Mandela
at the shop.
We're looking for him, like, where are you? We can find you. But like Mandela as well. We played Glasgow from him, 2-player game, really good one. Haven't played other games he made, but this one is fantastic. I am looking forward to see more of what both of these designers are going to do. I just love everything in it. I think that it's one that's going to be harder to play with new people, because it's going to be hard to understand and grok the game the first time you play it. But everything is fun. It's so nerve-wracking looking there at the piece and being like, please don't do what I want to do. Please don't block me from that. Please don't trigger that. Just so much stuff. I love it. I'm going to give it a 9. A fantastic game. And that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Sunwa.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.